test.
Oh, sometimes, yeah, just because you didn't do anything wrong, that's all good.
What's that?
It's warmer here. No, right here. Oh, really? I've been here actually longer than anywhere else. Yes, in the like the weird. Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 p.m. on January 13th, 2020. I will call to order the meeting of the Othello School Board District, the Othello School District Board of Directors with a flag salute, after which at that time, to spare us all this, Vice President Ken Johnson will chair the rest of the meeting.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight, especially on this cold, windy night. Approval of the agenda.
¿Habrá necesidad de traducción al español para alguien? Gracias.
I move that we postpone C1-4 and table it for a future meeting.
Okay, so we want to remove C1-4 for a future, postpone to a future meeting.
And I would like to amend that motion that we also add under board member discussions. I don't know if it necessarily matters where in that line of things. That we discuss WASDA questionnaire that could turn into a possible training.
Okay. And then also under board member discussions, we will add WASDA
Questionnaire.
questionnaire for future training. Okay, with that, do we have a motion for the approval of the agenda
With those modifications,
with
right?
those modifications?
Can I move that we approve it if I've made modifications? Okay, I move that we approve it with those modifications.
My
Okay.
second.
We got first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so carries. With that, we will move on to public comment. We have 2 requests for public comment tonight. I will call you up, and if you could come up and sit in front of the microphone and just announce who you are for the public record. Would appreciate it. The first one I've got is Eleanor Brondel.
Appreciate. Eleanor Brodall, 600 North 13th, Othello, Washington. It's just a pretty easy question. Dr. Hurst had put in the news that we had a 45% increase in the district fund balance. Can you tell me which fund balance that is and where did the funds come from?
Okay, as you know, Eleanor, we try not to answer questions here tonight, but they will get back to you. They've got your request,
Okay.
and they will get back with you. We'll make sure that they get back with you as soon as possible to answer that question.
Sooner than 8 months? Thank you.
Yes. Robert Pernetta?
Good evening. My name is Robert Pernetta, and I'm a PE teacher at McFarland Middle School. So about 3 years ago, we had a safety forum at McFarland, and we talked about things that needed to be improved, and I believe everybody was there except for the 2 new council members. One of my concerns was McFarland is not safe because we have 2 portables in the parking lot. They have to use the restrooms. Those portables don't have places to go to the bathroom. And so they go to the new gym bathroom. And so it creates a lot of havoc between our kids in the PE and the portable kids get together and they destroy the bathrooms. My biggest concern is if we have somebody entering that isn't supposed to be on site, they go into the new bathrooms that are open because of the portable kids, and I understand that. And then the door that goes into the new gym, it's basically a door that opens. There's nothing, there's no locks or anything. So if you're getting in there, you have access to the new gym, then you have access to the old gym, and then you can go to the commons. And so if you have a weapon of any type, it's not safe. So I waited for 3 years, nothing happened. Dr. Hurst, maybe a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, gave us a weekly report of how we've gone through McFarland and we talked to Greg and everything's safe. And I replied to him, no, it's not safe. And he's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, come in and I'll show you. The very next day he shows up and I explained to him, this is not safe. And I said, this is a big concern to me because people can come in here and have access. And so he took pictures and he said, I will take care of this. And he took care of it. They have been installed, and I'm here to tell you that it's made a world of difference. So now what has happened is the kids that go into the bathrooms no longer can go into the new gym. The kids in the gym cannot go into those bathrooms. So we're just saying those bathrooms are only for the portable kids, and our kids go into the old gym bathrooms. So on a lockdown, we were locked down 2 years, or last year 2 times, a real lockdown, modified lockdown. It wasn't safe. now we are safe. If somebody were to enter, they can't get into the new gym from the outside because they're locked. They will always remain locked. They also put those same doors in between the old and the new gym, and so it's completely sealed. And then we had an issue with the common stores. The kids would want to come in, and they would rank on those doors so much that they would just get in every single time. We have a lot of truancy from the arts and the engineering classes. They would come in whenever they wanted to. Now they can't do that. So I'm here to say thank you, Dr. Hurst, because at times I feel frustrated that when we voice our opinions as educators that it doesn't get done. And he actually said what he wanted. He said, I will take care of this. Talking to Travis McDonald, it's just incredible, ridiculously what the cost of these doors cost. But I'm here to tell you that a price of a kid, the safety of a kid, has no price. And so I want to thank Dr. Hurst for being vigilant and getting this done. And I don't like to say he flexed his muscles, but when you're the boss and you say, we're getting doors, guess what? We're getting doors. So thank you, Dr. Hurst, for addressing this issue. And on behalf of all of the McFarland staff, we're thankful for this because now 100% we are a safer school because of these doors. So I wanted to say thank you, Dr. Hurst, for that.
Okay. We'll go on to B2, legislative report. Jen?
Okay, so I have a couple of different things I wanted to share. I've shared before what WASDA, which stands for Washington State School Directors Association, they have a one-page legislative priorities list. And I've shared two, there's only 3 different sections to this. I've shared 2 of these. I've already shared student safety and support, and I've shared staffing needs. And this is statewide things that WASDA's pushing hard with our legislators for. And the last one I wanted to share today was funding model equity. The 4 things that they are focusing on are maintain ample and stable funding that supports planning at the local level, retrofit school buildings for safety and provide for security personnel, restore access to local funding and hold districts harmless, and diversify options to fund school construction and facilities. This you can easily find on WASDA's website, wssda.com, and then just look under legislative. So anyone can read those things. I've shared some of those others in the past. And then also, Governor Inslee came out with his budget proposal for the supplemental budget for this year. And those things, so this has not been approved. This is just what he's suggesting. Then it has the House and the Senate both have to approve modify and approve. But his, for K-12 education, the majority of the increase in the supplemental operating budget will help cover ongoing costs to meet the state's obligation to fully fund public schools. Additional investments will promote student well-being and equity and access to educational opportunities by, and he has 4 very specific points, expanding nursing services in Washington's smallest schools, strengthening the new statewide network of behavioral health and safety supports for students, creating a tribal liaison to facilitate access to career-connected learning opportunities for tribal students, and increasing educational continuity for justice-involved youth and students in residential schools through more support for individualized instruction and records coordination. So just good things moving forward. Hopefully just continues to get better and better. Those are what's going on. In fact, WASDA has their legislative group is there now in Olympia, and there is a day on the Hill that we could, any of us could go and attend, that has a very specific date. If someone's interested, I can give you more details. I'm not able to go this time to that one, so, but.
Okay, any further questions for Jen on it?
Okay.
Discussion on scheduling a facilities meeting. After our last workshop, has anybody got any ideas on the next step we want to go?
Well, do you want to follow up, or do you want to schedule another one right now, or do you want to put both those together?
It would be nice to put them together. I noticed there was some documents supplied tonight.
Would you like us to go
explain
over
it?
the
Yes.
documents
Yes.
first? Okay. So John Wiseman actually did a really great job, him and Pete, I believe, creating this document. So we're going to ask if John, if you can go ahead and explain the document. And then we'll have Jeanette as well, I think, share some things on some follow-up items.
So, in creating this, the idea behind it was to try to organize just kind of our thinking and see where which sort of projects or facility needs kind of rise to the top. And so this would be nothing as you know, this is no vote or anything concrete, but more to say, if I were to look at and have, if I wanted to limit ourselves to a $20 million project, what sort of pieces would be, that I think would be essential for that? And so with each one of those, if you were to check the box or multiple boxes, if you scroll to the right, you'll begin to see that it adds up all the selections that have been made. And then as a reminder that we still have the class size reduction grant that can be applied for that, as well as the $5 million in reserve for capital projects. And so it would be, so the one total would be how much the project itself, an estimate of what that would be with the items selected, and then using those funds, what would be required either through a bond or through a capital levy or some sort that you'd go to the public with. So to get a sense of what that would be. Again, and then it just had, you know, and these were just, you know, we can adjust any of these numbers as far as, you know, we just had said a 20, a 30, a 40, what would that look like? By being able to check some boxes and look at it, you might see, oh, we have 4 members that are in support of that, or 5, or 3, or 1. But we can begin to, the idea was to just kind of, again, put our thinking out there so we can visually see what that looks like, what sort of, if we have some momentum in certain spots, and maybe after discussion, you might want to switch. So certainly designed to be fluid.
Yeah, essentially this is, I guess, a thought process tool, just like John explained. One thing we have to, I guess, make sure of is as we're going through and checking those boxes, the class size reduction grant is built in there as a given. But if we're not checking that K3 class size box, we can't utilize those funds. So that'll be something I'll be monitoring as well. I might try to get with John and see if we can build some fancy formulas. He blew me out of the water on this one. But so we'll see if we can kind of get that worked in there so we don't make assumptions on accident. Also, Talia put up, she had the board election, or the election dates. So let's see, the next election is April 28th, and then the election after that is the August primary, which is August 4th. And then that also is the last day to file a resolution to be on the November general election ballot, which is November 3rd election date. That is the presidential election. So that will be very big voter turnout, but it also brings out a certain group of voters. So just something to kind of keep in mind. So that's the 2020 calendar. So we didn't go anything beyond that. The other item that was asked to follow up on is the $5 million plan. And so I came up with a few things that kind of would fall within that pretty easily. There's other items that we could kind of check off the list, but it would be part of larger projects. So these would be kind of, let's check it off the list and just be done with it kind of thing. So the warehouse purchase remodel, Along with that is some due diligence on the warehouse, so getting some reports and things like that done, just to make sure that we're making a good decision on purchase option. And then also, so the total of those two is about 3.5 million, give or change. And then
3.5 million, including the reports that would need to be done, is what you're
yeah, it'd
saying?
be about
For those two is what you're referring to?
yeah, 3.5, 3.52, something like that.
Okay.
And then the ORTC parking lot patching, dedicating about $200,000 to that. The Safe Routes to Schools grant, which we're already committed to for $50,000. The track repair at $650,000. And then safety or site prep / design work, I kind of just lumped it all in there, for around $600,000. And that's just kind of the balance of that $5 million ticket. So we could do some various things with that, just kind of depending on the cost of certain items that come back. Any questions on those?
No, that's
No.
basically what my list of the $5 million looked like as well.
So I was toying around with what exactly is in terms of facilities, what I felt like the board's job was compared to the district's job. And I am going to propose a policy modification. I'm not ready now, but because I only could finally kind of solidify it and start to be able to define it in my brain today. So, and I'm going to attach it to EL7 is my intent, just so you guys totally know what's going on and everything once it comes next week, so that you have some, I'm sorry, at the next meeting. So you have some time to kind of think about these ideas. This is echoey today. EL7 is Protection and Maintenance of District Facilities, Short and Long-Term Facilities Program. I think we had some conversations about this title in the past because it doesn't apply to short or long-term facilities. But I'm going to add something to, and I don't know where, but that I think that the district needs to come up with a long and short-term maintenance plan with future costs attached to that, to be planned into the district budget. And my proposal will be something along the lines of, if it's a maintenance, it's a district thing that the district needs to figure out how and when to put in to the budget. Like the track, I see that as a maintenance thing. Fixing the parking lot, transportation, again, my version is maintenance. Safety, I think that is, in my world, even though there's lots of little pieces to that, I think that that's more of a renovation, remodel, addition. Those kinds of things I think are under the board's realm. And because of how thorough I am with all kinds of details and things, if you give me a long list, I'm going to put that big long list into a plan that I come up with, and that's what I had done at the facilities meeting. And so now I think I'm able to kind of be able to put a separation on those things. And so that's what I'm going to suggest.
Okay.
I mean, it's not there yet,
Yes.
so, you know, we can't vote or say, I mean, but you're welcome to give me feedback and to have discussion about that.
Okay.
I'd like for us to fill out this spreadsheet, all of us.
Okay?
Get the results of that, hopefully, not hopefully by the next meeting, and then have a date for the next meeting. I think that would give us enough information to set up a new facilities meeting and take the next step.
You want to wait until we see this again in 2 weeks
Till
to
we
be
fill
able
it
to
out.
set up another meeting?
I want us to fill it out, and then
Schedule the
schedule the next
meeting
meeting
at the next
at the
meeting.
next board meeting.
Okay.
So try to get this
So you don't think we're gonna hit that February 28th date, is what you're saying?
I don't think we'll have enough time, Jen, to promote that,
Okay.
if we're trying to hit
Two.
that date.
That's only to put the resolution in for April.
I think if we wait
So
till-
you think we should wait until August or November?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. But as far as planning the next meeting, I think we should fill out this document, and then that'll give us, I think, because they may be 5 different answers, or they may be 4 very similar, one not there, a discussion amongst ourselves, or at another facilities meeting. We either twist some arms, or arms get twisted, and we can come up with something concrete to where we may be a couple days before the 28th deadline, because it is later in the month, or we make a decision at that time to postpone to either April or to August or November. But I think filling this out, I want to commend John and Pete, or whoever worked on this. I think it's a great idea. I think it's basically going to give us all an opportunity to, I don't know if this is the right terminology, put our necks out there to a certain extent and say, this is where I'm at. Maybe somebody's going to fill in the 20, maybe somebody's going to fill in the 40, whatever they're comfortable with. But I think that'll give us an idea to put this together. Just an idea, just a thought. I don't know.
Okay, I have a question. So does that mean, my understanding from Greg last week at our meeting was we needed to make a decision on the track ASAP in order to get that done in 2020 during the summertime. So just to be clear, are you saying you want to take the track off the table and have them come out, pay for that out of a different budget? I wasn't quite clear what you meant.
I think that I consider it a maintenance thing. They've known about this for, 10 years, that this was coming up? And yes, to throw a $650,000 thing in, oh, guess what, you're gonna pay for this, at this stage, is a little more difficult. Maybe we could agree that comes out of the 5 million, or if there's slush fund for 650,000, even if we don't touch the 5 million. Slush fund is not the right word. Undesignated balance, is that the correct term?
Yeah, there's
Yes.
undesignated fund balance, which doesn't necessarily mean that there's expense authority in the budget, expense authority room in the budget. We would have to take a look at that, but yes, there's undesignated fund balance.
That's the correct term, not slush fund.
And I think ultimately, even for that kind of expense, it would still have to come back for board approval, wouldn't it?
Yes.
For the track, so.
Oh, yeah,
eventually-
anything
yeah.
over $30,000
Yes.
is, I'm not saying that we have to approve or don't approve. I'm saying we need to be able to come up with a clear delineation between what I think is board responsibility and district's responsibility. So then we can move forward with our portion of the responsibility. That's, I guess,
Facilities.
yes, of the facilities.
And maintenance of
That's
the
where,
facility going
right.
back to the district. I
Yes, we
understand
still
what
have to
you're saying.
approve those numbers. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely, right.
Okay.
So I don't know if I fully answered your question.
I guess I just need some clarity. I would hate for our track situation, whether the money comes out of the 5 million or the other scenario, for that to fall through the cracks again. Like, we're turning into like the do-nothing board, or like just talking and talking and talking and nothing is getting, like, the ball is not rolling.
And that's why, like, my eyes get wide when they're suggesting, oh, let's wait another 2 weeks to even be able to say, hey, this is what we think. So that's why I'm like, oh, yeah, we've already waited months.
Jeanette, do
I
you
feel
recall
like.
the date Greg gave us on the track?
The date that he gave you, so he said approximately a month, so that would be early February.
So I think that could be decided by the next meeting. 'Cause
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we will be emailed along with possibly our voting things on our monitoring response documents, and we will fill in and then return, is what the proposal is? whether it's the 30, the 20, or the 40, and then mark what we think our priorities are. Okay,
Yes.
great.
And if we get these all in, if all the board members get them in early, is it possible that we could see those results as soon as possible, so we could
Yeah, that's not a problem.
give us a little bit of,
Yep, absolutely.
Just a
Time
quick,
ponder.
just a quick feel as to like the temperature of where everyone's at. Is there anyone who doesn't know what they want?
So are you saying we should say it right now?
No, I'm just trying to get a feel of like who doesn't know what they want, if there's some more information that
Well-
they need to make a decision, or.
I know there's some more information that I would like,
Okay,
especially when it comes down to a complete new facility for K-6 and remodeling our existing facilities. I need to know the cost of what it's going to take to get the property shovel ready. Because if that's a really large price, then that's going to steer me towards the other alternative of upgrading our elementary schools with new gyms and classrooms instead, because I don't want to have a large price there. So there is some figures I would like to still try to get between the next time, and that's the cost.
Utilities to the,
Utilities and what it would take to get that ground shovel ready for us to even consider to start to build on. And I know it's going to take a little bit of cooperation working with the city to try to get some of those numbers or find out what they're going to require of us to try to get on. Because like I said, that would make a big difference on my decision on that direction.
agreed. So just to be clear, the 28 million does not include any work?
Site prep work.
No site prep?
It includes some. I mean, there's not a definite dollar amount. What we did is just kind of a high estimate. And so some of the site prep would be included in that. Obviously, until you really put your, feet to the ground, you're not going to necessarily know. We were just trying to provide you some high-level estimates.
Okay.
Okay. Like I say, if we could try to get something a little bit closer, because I'd hate to start making decisions on those type of estimates and not knowing for sure, and figure out after we go through all the process that it's going to be too expensive and have to back off again, so.
Yeah, we'll
It
try
would
to
be
get
nice
you guys
if
a
we could
little
get
more
something.
detailed of a list.
and the reason why we're so persistent with this, Jeanette, because there was, I think it was anywhere from 5 to either 9 or 12 million dollars was what was being tossed around by the city to get utilities out there.
Wow.
There was a whole process with the developer that's in between us, who pays what and everything else, but it was a very large amount. So I realize that you guys have something put into that 28 mil, but I don't think it's near 5 or 7 million or whatever, which potentially may be the cost to get utilities out there, unless it's changed from the city.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
And we
you.
do appreciate the work that you guys have been
Thanks, Ken.
trying to get us,
Thanks, Jeanette.
so.
And Pete and John,
Okay.
awesome
Yeah.
chart.
Yeah.
Really good chart.
Okay, any further questions on the discussion of scheduling facilities? So we got to, hopefully,
So on this, do we do it online, or do we take it in a paper form and bring it in, or?
Talia has some corrections she's gonna make to it, and then she's gonna send it out to you probably.
We can send it out tonight, yeah. So it'll come in.
Microphone.
It was only a matter of time before Director Stevenson told me to use a mic. We can send that out either tonight or first thing tomorrow, and it will come in your district email.
Okay.
So it'll be a file, so it is shared with you. You click on it, and then that will allow you access to punch in the different boxes and kind of experiment and see what that looks like.
Okay, I'd kind of like to have a few days for public input, that anyone listening or that's attending would have comment back to us before we jump from a 20 to a $40 million request, so.
Sure. And even the intent could be that if we ran a 20, this would be my priorities, and if we ran a 40, so potentially you could have, in wherever your name is, you could kind of play out the scenario, was kind of the idea behind it, but you can, it's your tool to use, so however it works.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're not deciding when we're doing a facilities meeting until our next school board meeting? Okay.
Yes. We pretty much covered follow-up items from 820 already, facility meeting. Next one is discussion on December board linkage. I believe that was, yeah, it didn't happen. That was me and you, Mike. I know times were tight and different things were going on. But Jen, I noticed that you and I are scheduled for January for board linkage.
Okay.
I see that Lindsay and I have February. Could we have a little bit of an input of, if you send two of us out like that?
So,
Maybe should we split and send one rookie with one?
I would have no problem with that.
Okay.
I was
I would have
looking
no
at that,
problem
I
with
go,
that.
well, I don't even think we're really
Instead of both of the
knowledgeable.
rookies together?
Could be really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it have a preference? Do you have a preference on?
Who wants to go January and who wants to go February?
I'd rather go January. I have plans in February. Just
Okay.
kidding.
Okay, then you still want to take January?
Sure,
Jen?
I can take
Okay.
January, right, okay.
And then,
February will be fine for me.
okay,
There are a
Uh,
few weeks I'm unavailable from, but personally, but yeah.
okay.
we'll work it out.
If, as soon as you got a group or organization that you would like to meet with, if you could let Mike know, so
Okay.
he could let us know, then we'll start to take a look for February on a group.
Perfect.
So just to be
Organization.
clear, that's something we decide, that's not like pre-assigned. In January, you go see these people, okay. It's a, just make, okay,
There's a list in there that's an ideal list, but it doesn't have to be followed at all.
okay.
The fellow school district preschool site visit draft agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review that?
I will be unable to attend this. I have gone this year as a site visit myself, but I sadly will not be able to attend.
Okay. Is there anything else there that you'd like to see added, or is everybody okay with that agenda for the day?
I'm okay with the agenda.
Okay,
I'm okay.
with that we'll go on. And you got that, Jennifer? Everything's good on? The WASDA questionnaire.
So I, over the break, contacted WASDA and asked, when we went to our annual conference, those that were able to attend, they had talked about that they have a questionnaire. I think it's like 65 questions, which seems so long. But then if the board wanted to take it, then they analyze the things and have them all into all these different little boxes of these questions fit into this area of training and these questions. And so then they can come and do trainings with us according to our biggest needs, or multiple trainings according to different needs and stuff that we have that way. Wanted to see what you guys thought about that idea, to at least start that process. They did specifically say that we could have the superintendent fill out the questionnaire as well. That is completely up to us whether we want him to do it or not. They can say, okay, Othello's all done it, or only 4 from Othello's done it, or those kinds of things. They are not, because it's anonymous, they can't tell us who did or didn't, but they can say only this many has filled it out, or those kinds of things. So,
I believe I talked to you a little bit about it at
yes,
the WASDA conference.
Right.
This is a self-assessment for the
right, it's
the
a
board, and
self-assessment.
It's another tool, and I know WASDA is becoming one of the leaders in the nation with some of their training courses. And I looked at this one particular too, and I thought it was a great thing that this board could take a look at. It's just another tool that we could use on how we could work more efficiently.
I'd rather see training here than traveling.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
and
they
that's what
come
this
here.
will come in
Yeah.
They
I'd
come
here,
rather
yes.
than going to
WASDA
other
will come
trainings,
here.
yeah. So I think it's a good
to
idea.
do. And WASDA does offer a lot of different things too that I think we need to take advantage of a little bit more.
Can you get us the link, Jen?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want me to send it to
Email it to us?
all of us? Okay. And do we want the superintendent to take it or not? Or just us?
I think it's a board self-assessment, isn't it?
Yes.
It is, just so that we have the clarification of whether we're waiting for 5 or 6, so I can tell them.
I say we take it.
Okay, great, no problem. Okay, I'll send that out.
Okay. Any more board discussion for tonight? Okay, student representative reports. I would like to welcome both of you here tonight. I'll let you introduce yourselves and let you know, let us know what's going on.
Okay. I'm Elise Garza. Hi, I'm Lauren Maples. So I emailed each of the administrators at the different schools to find out some of the things that were going on in their buildings this week, and that happened before break. And so this is just what each of they had sent me. Ludokaga has a art show on January 14th in their gym from 6 to 7 o'clock. And they had a teacher versus student basketball game before the break, and the teachers won that. At Wahidas, the teachers also won their teacher versus student basketball game. And students have been enjoying their house day activities, which essentially is, I think, where they learn, they have people from the community come in and talk about their careers. And so they're learning about future career opportunities. Scootney had a sip and shop where students got to enjoy hot cocoa, and their teachers and community members donated gently used items or new items that the students got to pick one for each of them to give to somebody important to them. And their 6th graders are giving playground behavior presentations to kinder and first graders. At Hiawatha, their 6th graders having their 6th grade leadership has enjoyed dressing up as emojis and going from class to class to promote kindness in their school. There also will be having a dress-up day. I'm not sure when that is, or I guess it's a dress-up week. And then all of the elementary schools, except for Scootney, which got moved to February, had successful band and choir concerts. At MMS on January 16th at 7 o'clock, they're having their band concert. It's combined 7th and 8th grade. And 8th grade AVID and 25 other students selected from the 8th grade class will be taking their PSAT later this month. At OHS, we would like to invite the board to come to a super student assembly on January 24th from 9:30 to 10:30. So it's just to celebrate students who don't usually get celebrated. They will get to walk down a red carpet, and it's for things like attendance and those kind of things that just don't normally get celebrated around the school. Very stressful, but also at the high school we have finals going on this week, so we have students cramming for that. The band is getting ready for, on January 28th, we have they're like little ensemble groups that each student gets to participate in the band. It's a concert for that, and then on February 1st, selected groups get to go to a solo ensemble competition.
To continue with OHS, the speech and debate team is getting ready for their competition in Wenatchee this weekend and to go to state in March for 2 weekends in a row. The Lady Huskies have their invite this weekend. Our OHS drumline is getting ready for their big show in Portland this year. Girls basketball is starting Little Huskies with our younger students, and the cheerleaders are holding a junior cheer camp.
We didn't get any feedback from DOHS, but hopefully by the next meeting we can find out what's going on there. And do we have any other questions, I guess?
No, I think it was great.
It's a nice report.
It was great. Have you got any big plans to work together to do something, or?
I think right now we want to find out. We want to find out from the students how they think that we can best represent them and get their opinion on what's going on.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to C1, required approvals. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the required approvals.
We got
I
a
second.
First, and we got a second. Any further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so carries. Then,
I move that we approve the January 2020 early AP warrant under C2-1.
I second that as well.
okay, and this one I will be abstaining from. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so carries. Superintendent information. Let me get off. We don't have nothing in there. Mine ain't working. There we go. Okay, monitoring. We'll go to D1, monitoring reports from the superintendent.
I had some
For
questions that I had forwarded ahead to Dr. Hurst. Under EL3, he has all these awesome charts and graphs, but because they're stuck in our reports in PDF form, he has a much cooler version. I wanted to see if we could put that up.
Absolutely. So because, as Director Stevenson said, it's in PDF in your file. I wanted to just share with you, when you look up here, you can see that when you hover over, you can actually see the corresponding number and the corresponding percentage. I think when you look at your document in the PDF version, at the bottom you see a 1/2. That's actually 1 out of 2 pages. So when you click on it, you can see Othello High School at the top. So when you look at it on yours, it may be a little bit confusing, and also for the public, that the red is actually Othello High School. However, when you look at it on yours, you may have thought that the red was the preschool. So you don't have the fortune of seeing it when you hover over it. So again, I'm just gonna go over a little bit, if you don't mind, board. You can see there's a pretty big representation of this survey across the district. So we had 382 responses out of about 550 employees, which is right around 70% of our staff. And I did have the opportunity to meet with key leaders from PSC and share with them that this is a large number of staff that participated. Actually, it's the largest number participation that has participated in the survey since I've been here. So 70% is actually large. So it's going to yield us a lot of information. And just for a reminder for the board, this survey came about because of a meeting that we had with PSC doing a linkage, board linkage. And there was about 17 PSC members present. There was 7 vocal members. And there were some key themes that came out of that conversation. So we said we wanted to investigate further to see what not only PSC members were thinking, but all members across the district were thinking. If you go down, you can see we asked the question, what type of position you hold. We did want to make it completely anonymous, so we did say also if you declined to identify, then that was okay. But at least we still know that there was about 70% of participants that participated. If you go down, one of the key things we said was communication, and that was one of the elements that came out of the PSC meeting as well, a feeling of lack of communication. So we asked questions about how are you receiving information. And you can see right here that the big 3 was through building administrators, district emails, and relying on other employees. And going to the next one. There was also, again, since it was about communication, what is your preferred mode of communication? So that, again, this yields a lot of information for us across the district that our employees, they want to hear from administrators, they want to get the district emails, and then social media came in the third, close to another one. But again, we'll use this information to kind of guide us on how we're going to communicate more efficiently with all staff. Go down. Here also, you'll see there was a feeling around being informed in the building, yes or no. You can see the question was, I'm informed about what's going on in my building. What's really good to see, you have a large % of strongly agree and agree. But again, in my conversations with PSC and again with OEA, we'll have that conversation as well. When you hover over the 15.7%, you can see still there's 60 that disagree and go to the green as well, and 27. So it's still about 100 employees that say there's something going on around being informed. So we don't disregard that, even though it's high in the agree and strongly agree. Again, this information will yield us specifically what are those schools that are having problems with informing individuals. So we actually have all the data. We'll be able to disaggregate that data, bring it to the board and to the public, so you'll be able to see by school where the issues, and then I'll talk about like the next steps too. The next question is really around effective communication. Again, high percentage, but again, you can see there's some that disagree and strongly disagree, and how do we deal with those as well? Celebrate what's going well, but then address what's not going well. And then we had questions around the environment. This one was really about consideration when decisions are being made and getting input from all employees. So you can see there is more of a disagree and a strongly disagree here. So really looking at those individual schools, or may not be a school site, may be a building, because we had everyone take this. So could include maintenance, food service, and warehouse, so on and so forth. Next question. I feel valued. This was a question that came up. So again, this survey allowed us to see that a lot of employees feel valued, strongly agree or agree, but there's still some that say, you know, I don't feel valued. So how do we investigate those schools as well and come up with an action plan? Next one, my building administrator sets a positive tone. This was one of the highest that they feel that administrators are setting a positive tone, and a small percentage disagree or strongly disagree, and again, celebrating our successes, but then addressing those issues that are around the district. Next one was really about respect and being courteous to one another. Again, this was a high one that has strongly agree and agree, and again, addressing those things that are not going well across the system. And then we can go ahead and close that out. And one of the things that you'll see in your document and available to the public, you'll see that there's some next steps. So we said we're addressing this. There's some next steps in the SWOT analysis. In the SWOT analysis, is just simply looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to our system. So what's going well, what's not going well. There'll be a formal presentation to the board, to the public, the first board meeting in February, where you get to see a breakdown by building of what's happening, and then also what were the themes, and then how we're going to address those issues across the system. So I just wanted to go over that so you understand in detail what that is all about.
Great, very detailed, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else on EL3? Okay, EL4, any questions, or we're ready to accept the report?
Do we have to move to accept them? Or, yes? I move we accept these reports.
I second.
Got a first and second, all in favor of
Aye.
accepting?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so carried. Okay, the board approval of monitoring response documents. These are from the previous surveys that we filled out. They're just the signed versions of them with any questions or comments on them.
I know we had talked about this, being able to put this in
Consent agenda.
the consent agenda, so I'll have a discussion at my next meeting agenda prep with the superintendent to see if we can't facilitate that so we can save the next 5 minutes.
But since it's here now, we're going to need a formal vote on it to accept the monitoring response documents. So do I have a motion?
I motion we approve the monitoring response documents for EL2, GP2, BSR 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so carried. Okay, on to E1, a review and discussion, a revision of current board policies. Pretty much all
It's
of,
kicked me off the internet, so I can't vote. Am I the only one that's having a problem?
I don't have a pop-up that has me vote.
Are you, oh, you're still connected. I'm just not connected, so I can't go anywhere.
Just know when those things happen, she does manually record her votes.
I'm not being lazy. I just don't have a pop-up.
Well, that's still thinking, huh? It has to be white. It's not gray. I can follow up there for now.
okay. So the review, discussion, or revision of current boards. These are all the policies that we reviewed and went over last time and did our evaluations on them. Now they come up for us to, if we, this is our chance that if we want to change them or modify them or any corrections to them. Pretty much all of them were the same except for BSR 3. And actually, I am proposing these changes to BSR 3.
I guess I would ask for the clarification of removing the any. Ken, what's your intent behind that?
Any is a big phrase, especially when it comes into the let me go, I'll read that whole phrase. The board, this is BSR 3, and the board will instruct the superintendent through written policies which prescribe the organizational ends to be achieved and describe organizational situations and actions to be avoided, and will allow the superintendent to use any reasonable interpretation of those policies. I just feel that the term any is pretty broad sometimes, and if we just eliminate the word and just have use a reasonable interpretation in there.
Do you have like a specific, because it,
I-
if these changes are made or what have you, our next step would, of course, would be to turn around and ask Dr. Hurst how he interprets this, or if he interprets it any different without the word in there. I just didn't know if there was a specific thing.
I just don't have a specific thing. I just felt that the word any is a pretty broad statement to me, and I would like to narrow some of that down. And I think on number 4, I strike that last sentence. I will read the whole one. The board may change its ends and executive limitations policies at any time, thereby shifting the boundary between board and superintendent domains. By doing so, the board changes the latitude of choice given to the superintendent. However, as long as any board specified delegation of authority is in place, the board will respect and support any reasonable interpretation of its policies, even though superintendent choices may not be the choices the board or its members would have made. And I'm proposing to just drop that last sentence, even though superintendent choices may not be the choice the board or its members would have made. I think this needs to be changed for 2 things. And I had a discussion with Dr. Hurst, and it's not necessarily Dr. Hurst, it's for any superintendent, because these are our board policies. The board needs to take some responsibility on our decisions too. And I think that even if the superintendent does make them, and I believe if that stays in there the same way, the board could always say it was the superintendent's fault, but I think it ultimately comes down to the board. The board makes the decisions. They set the goals, they set the policies, and that's the decision of the board right there.
So my opinion on the any is, I can see that. However, why not strike the last one in that last sentence and support any reasonable interpretations of its policies before that final strike? I'm not sure I agree yet on the final phrase strike, but why not strike that any also?
I did notice there was another any, and I did
Okay.
forget that one. As
So you would,
yes,
you would
I
still,
strike
you would
the
strike
word
that one
any,
as well?
yes.
Okay, I didn't catch that this said revised, so I didn't see it until just now. But, I'm gonna need to think on that last phrase. But I agree with what you've said, that there are policies.
We set
And-
the policies
Yeah.
already.
And
So the
still
decisions,
taking
yes.
responsibility ourselves.
Yes.
I agree. With that part, I'm not sure on that wording part there.
I just don't want this to be seen or interpreted as us going back to tying his hands and he can only do certain things. And I feel, you just clarified that's not your intent, but I would have to think a little bit about before being okay with striking that at the end. Perhaps you and I can have a conversation to be specific about this, because I can think of something right now where it's totally opposite to this, a decision made that wasn't our doing or approving perhaps, but was the right decision. So I'm afraid if we did go through with this, there might be some hold back and cause a little more unnecessary friction. But if we could have a discussion afterwards or later, I think, we can.
No, that would
I
be
say,
fine.
I say we would table this and by the next reading probably.
Well, and we can't approve it in this meeting anyways.
No,
no,
this is
After
just
a
a first
first
reading.
time,
Discussion.
right. Mhm.
This-
First
So-
reading for discussion.
No, but this is where we get to hear whoever made the redactions, what their thinking is behind it. So I appreciate the explanation, but, just a little more discussion there maybe. By next time it can be.
What do you two think?
I think the innies should all be gone, even the one that you said. And on the last one, I'm not sure if we've been on long enough to fully understand that last statement. I can see why Ken wants to take it out. I think in our town, people think the board has more say-so, and it doesn't seem like we have as much as we think. Other schools that don't have policy governance, we have policy governance, and it overtakes a lot of things that I think community-wise don't know or understand also. So, do you guys talk it over, because you can only have two, you guys talk it over and then you come back to us, is that what you do?
Sure.
I mean,
We can talk, the intent is to be able to talk in this meeting here. If those two are the only ones that have that part of the concern, sure, they could do that privately, but
That discussion can be had now.
yes, I
this
think
is
that
where
needs
this
to
is
take
at.
place now, because it sounds like I'm the same with where Mike's at. I'm not quite sure I'm ready on that one. And understanding what you're saying, I agree with some of it, but I don't know if this phrase takes that responsibility, makes that change for me, that phrase, so.
Yeah, I just, and even if there isn't a discussion between Ken and I just have to think a little more to specific instances where I think this would be a detriment, in my opinion. And maybe the verbiage can be modified, but that's something I will put more thought to. And if I have any modifications or changes that I think are there, maybe mine are blue or something to differentiate or something.
I don't look at this as striking that as tying the superintendent's hands a little bit more. I think it's like I said, the board stepping up for a little bit more responsibility. We do set the policies, and as it was explained to us, they're like the sidelines of a football field, and it's just adjusting them. But we still got to stay
Within the bounds, yeah.
within those bounds. And
Lindsay, do you have any thoughts yet?
I was just asking myself, I mean, is that true? Yeah, so for me, I don't have a problem with it staying, because it is true, even if the superintendent makes a decision that we don't necessarily agree with, we show support, right? So for me, it's not, it's a true statement, so I'm fine with it staying. I do understand where Ken's coming from, but I don't feel vehemently one way or the other.
I think a little more thought to it, and we should be able to clarify this at the next reading, I think.
okay,
So are we ready to ask for Dr. Hurst's interpretation? Or are we done with our conversation part?
yes, we're done with our
I
part.
don't think we could ask him for it because we haven't
We haven't
decided
changed
if
it
those
or-
are, it's not changed yet.
Okay.
So it's like we
You
can't tell him.
don't think that we still need to ask for
We
his
could
interpretation even
probably ask him
before?
his-
He'll
of his
he'll give us his opinion, but I don't think it'd be technically his response because we're not telling him, this isn't a final document.
Yes.
The annies are still in there, and that final sentence or part of sentence is still there. So what are we asking him to interpret if they're still there?
Okay. I can ask him privately then, that's all right.
Okay.
So I found something today that I didn't send in also that I think needs to be modified under BSR 2. So I don't think that we should be doing anything with this yet. Under the third one, it says, Board members should refer parents, employees, and others with complaints directly to the responsible individual closest to the situation, classroom teacher, school principal, central office staff, or the superintendent's office, and if needed, will report such contacts, not contracts, was my proposed change there. I don't know if that was a spelling error at one point that we can blame on a former board member, or anyways, I propose that we change that, and since we can't do that at this meeting, at a future.
Sure.
And I also proposed a change to, oh, is GP 14 says the same thing?
Well, because it says process for dealing with the request or complaint, it's not that policy anymore.
Okay, apparently we need to change that too. Let's go, let me go back into that one. So that part will need to be changed to, let's see how fast I can get there, or someone else can.
GB 12,
Change GP 14 to GP 11.
12.
12. Thank you. I just saw process 4 and just jumped on that. It was the wrong one. So, so if we don't modify anything or anything, we don't need to do anything to them, right? They just move on to the, right?
Yes.
Okay. I did suggest also changes on GP. So I'm sorry, any discussions on BSR 2?
No.
Thoughts? Okay. GP 7.1, I asked for some modifications on that to add the 2 new board members' names and take off the older ones. And then also in April, we have it consistently to do student rep interviews then, but since we have our student reps and have one for 18 months and one for 12, we don't need to keep that in this cycle, but I hope that if we take that off, we don't forget that we will need to.
Going further up, what were the changes? Because you did put the rookies together. That needs to be amended to Ken and Sharon
For February,
for
Yes.
February.
yes. And then Lindsay and I for January. So,
Then do you and Lindsay go back out in April?
That's what the calendar says.
yep, we'll be at it again. By then, we'll have it down. We'll know exactly what we're doing.
Here's hoping.
Okay. So,
Okay.
so I guess
Any-
we're not ready to approve that one then, since we're already making more changes tonight
On
on GP
GP
7.1.
7.1, okay.
I think that'll be in there for the next reading.
So that'll be on, say, the next meeting then. Okay, any further discussion on policy review? Okay. F1, upcoming events. January 14th, Ludicauga Art Show. January 16th, PAC meeting. Is that at the high school quarter?
How
Okay.
many are going to some of these so that we, if we need to have a quorum announced? I'm planning on going to the art show.
I was too.
I would guess that we've all been invited, but whether we're able to go or not might be different.
As long as we're not discussing stuff.
It's okay.
I know,
That-
but we can still announce that there may be a quorum.
Quorum, yes.
And that's how it's been done in the past, that there may be a quorum, but that doesn't mean we're doing business. The same with the super student assembly on the 24th. Is
won't be-
all I'm
I'll be out of
concerned
town.
about.
I'm planning on going to the super student assembly.
I'll be out of town, sorry.
So,
I cannot go to that either. I have another meeting that day.
I think
Same
we'll just
time.
announce a potential quorum at all of them, regardless.
At all the events,
That
yes.
way,
Great.
that would work, that would cover it all.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I mean, of the things that we typically go to, like, we're not all at PAC meetings normally.
The only one that would not be announced is tomorrow's Little Kaga Art Show, just because it's already past the 24-hour
You're right. Okay.
So just beware, no conversations.
I wouldn't miss it.
In groups of 3 or more. Exactly. Okay.
Okay, we will go on to board self-assessment of the meeting. Is everybody able to get their survey up?
So you just click on the little, okay. You're good.
Now, the student reps do know that they can take this survey also.
I made sure that they were on it.
Okay, they all in? There's no way I'm gonna read it off that board up there.
Right after. I zoom here.
Where- No, it's not letting me.
Read them off of there.
Yeah.
Just slide.
That's how mine would slide. Okay. The agenda was well-planned to focus on the real work of the board. We had 7 say commendable. The board followed its agenda and did not allow itself to get sidetracked. We have 6 commendable, 1 good. The board deliberations and discussion-making process was public. 1 good, 5 commendable. All board members participated in discussion, no one dominated. 3 good, 4 commendable. Members listened intently, avoiding side conversations. 7 said commendable. Okay. Board actions occurred at the policy level rather than at the operational level. 7 said yes. The board agenda referenced policy about each topic that was discussed. 7 said yes. The board chair helped the board efficiently conduct its meeting. 6 said yes. The board supported the superintendent in any reasonable interpretations of its policies. We have 2 that said yes, 4 that said not applicable. So the comment, new or modified policy.
There's a comment underneath there. Thank you, Ken, for chairing the meeting tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay. Oh. You're welcome. Threw in, it kind of took me off guard at the last second as I sat down here. Okay. The board started with a broad policy statement and become more detailed in the logical and discipline sequence. Well, we got 3 that said yes, 4 that said not applicable. We didn't rewrite any policy tonight. We reviewed and we didn't change any tonight, just to let you know. So it should have been all non-applicable. The board asked the superintendent to provide reasonable interpretation of the policy. 1 said yes, and 6 was not applicable. Okay. Thank you very much tonight, board. With that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.